In today's video, we're going to be doing a full review of Dior's Ambre Nuit, and I'm going to just reapply it to my arm real quick. I've been wearing this from a sample that Rich Mitch sent me, thank you very much. It's one of the older original bottles, not the new reformulation, just so you know. What I get from the opening of this is a beautiful kind of sweet, slightly sweet, musky rose accord. I get this kind of slightly fresh, quite pretty rose, some kind of nice, almost skin-like musky tones, a little bit kind of watery. It is not totally clear whether it actually has an amber accord in the perfume or whether it's ambergris. Depending where you read, you get different impressions. The Dior website itself would suggest it has an amber accord, as in traditional amber like lab denim and benzoin. Parfumo mirrors that in terms of listing it as amber. Fragrantica lists it as ambergris, and so I'm not sure where it stands on, you know, whether or not it is a traditional amber or whether it's an ambergris note. I think it's quite unusual as an amber in the sense that it doesn't really smell like it doesn't smell like the ambers, like for example lab denim, benzoin and vanilla, the way that that smells combined. I don't really get that in here. It doesn't smell of things like myrrh, so if you remove the idea of having those kind of ambers, it doesn't really even quite smell of ambergris. But I get a kind of a woody, musky, but also I can kind of get a sense of something that you could think of as ambery. There's a texture that might give you an impression of amber. You know, lab denim and benzoin, they might be in there in smaller quantities, possibly, but it doesn't feel like it's providing the much of a definitive traditional amber. There are citruses in the top, but they don't really come out on my skin. Maybe a little bit slightly fresh, but I really struggle to find citrus in here. I don't really get it that much at all. Pink pepper is listed. I think you get an element of it, just a subtle kind of little vibe of maybe a little bit of heat, a little bit of warmth, a little bit of kind of sparkle, and a little bit of freshness as well. Pink pepper having kind of a slightly, I don't know if describing it as warm, it's kind of warm and sharp and kind of fresh at the same time. It has a fresh quality to it. I think you get a little bit of it, but it's not a huge contributor, I would say. A little bit more subtle. For me, the main vibe is a musky kind of watery rose that's slightly sweetened and that's quite pretty. After about an hour on my skin, I get a texture of something that could remind you of like very, very fine wool. Initially I wrote kind of cotton wool, kind of balls of cotton wool. Then I was thinking like maybe even more like cashmere wool jumpers, where you have that very, very, you know, high quality, very fine wool where it's like super soft. So it's like cashmere wool or cotton wool, something very cloud-like soft. I'm talking about the texture, like very, very soft wool. I kind of get that impression as a texture in the smell as it starts to dry down. It smells lovely, it's comforting, it's cozy, it's a little bit snuggly. I think it's quite unisex, although for some men they might find it kind of feminine, with the kind of floral and kind of the way that it comes across as kind of cuddly or soft or intimate. It's kind of an intimate kind of smell with that nuance of floral and musky qualities. Some men might be put off by that as thinking it smells girly. Personally, I think a guy could wear it just fine. I would wear it myself. This is actually my favorite so far from the line that I've tried. This has been my favorite in terms of my own taste. I would definitely wear this myself. And I will wear out the sample to decide whether or not I want to get a bottle. If I do, I'd only get one of the small, I think they're 40ml size. I may end up getting a 40ml, depending how I feel when I wear out the sample fully. But I'm enjoying it. I think it smells really good. After about 3 hours, it has become pretty much a skin sense. You're only going to get, you know, an initial kind of hour's worth of a little bit of projection and sillage, and I think you have to over apply this and It's not a heavy fragrance, it's quite light. You have to be kind of quite close to the skin to smell it, and I just want to point out that this is an original formulation. It's the older version before pre-formulation of this one. I know the newer ones apparently are a little bit weaker, so even the original older one isn't, I wouldn't say, huge on performance in terms of projection and sillage. With this, it does feel a little bit like you might want to, you know, apply decent amounts and then it'll probably work a bit better. The patchouli for me is quite minimal, a little tiny little hint of it. Never too much to be annoying or massively detectable on my skin. The official notes listed for this one is bergamot and grapefruit. Again, I don't pick out the citruses personally on my skin very much at all. With rose and pink pepper, I think you get the rose for sure. And maybe just a hint of pink pepper, but it's a little bit more subtle. Ambergris, cedarwood, gaiac wood and patchouli. I think you get a little bit of the woodiness in the dry down. In terms of performance for this, I would say it's modest in the first hour and then becomes a skin scent within 2 to 3 hours. At the 4 hours, it's quite soft, close to, well, it can be kind of a little bit strong if you have your nose to your arm or wherever you're smelling it on your body. You have to be, you know, nose to skin, and then you can kind of, you get a decent amount, but what I'm saying is it's got no projection at all. You have to literally be like that close. So someone would have to, like, if they were stood in front of me, I don't think that they would smell me. They would have to come and give me a hug and have their head like here to be able to pick it up, really, at the kind of 4 hour mark, in my own experience of it. Go on a lot longer in terms of overall longevity. So the overall longevity is about 8 hours that I can still smell it as a skin scent with really no change. It doesn't change much after really the first hour. I would say is pretty much the same. So 8 hours I can still perceive it quite softly, but it's there. But I would say at 4 hours it's a skin scent for sure, and really no one's going to notice you unless they come in for a hug. I would say unless you've over applied and like applied it to your t-shirt and really gone to town on the sprays, then you know you probably have better luck in terms of how well it lifts off your skin. For me personally, I don't tend to overspray very often. Certain fragrances I do more than others. But with this one, I think you would probably need to get kind of an effect, even just for yourself to enjoy it. I think you'd probably need, you know, anywhere between 5 to 8 sprays of this for it to kind of work well for you. In terms of season, I think all year round actually. I would wear it in the summer because it's not too sweet. I don't think it would be cloying in the heat. I think it would work quite well actually. So I think it would work in summer. I think it would work the best in spring, ideally. Autumn, it would be fine. Winter, it would work, but maybe a little bit light. Maybe it would struggle in the if it was really cold, then it might struggle, but it would still work. So all year round in terms of season, in terms of like when you could wear it, for me it's quite versatile in the sense that it's dressed up, it's casual. You could wear that in a suit and smell fantastic. You could wear it in a jeans and a t-shirt and it would smell really good. Like there's no, I don't see it in terms of occasion specifically. It would cover pretty much anything. I don't think you would ever offend anybody. Generally speaking, I would say whoever gets kind of a waft of this on somebody else wouldn't think that they smell bad. They would think you smell good. Whether or not you wear it yourself is a different matter. You might not like it for your own personal taste for you, but in the air on someone else, I can't see anyone complaining. I think, you know, most people would like this to be smelled on someone else. So that's my kind of review. I think it's very pretty. I think it's quite beautifully done. And yeah, I like it. It's, like I say, one of my favourites from the line. I may even end up buying a 40ml bottle for myself at some point. I don't know. I'll see how the wearing of the sample goes, whether or not I feel like I want to kind of wear it again. But I definitely like it. It's my favourite so far. If you tried it, let me know your thoughts. I think it's very likeable, very mass appealing. I don't think you could go wrong with it. So yeah, hope you enjoyed the video. I will see you soon with some more reviews. Take care everyone. Bye.
One time he disappeared for 2 or 3 days. When he came back, they asked him where he'd been, and he said, "Oh, just sailing."